because it's not my show. It's our show.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about RPM a bit. 2, 1. Hello, everybody.
Hi, guys.
Brendan is going to be coming along shortly. Don't know where he is. I think he's maybe lost. Maybe it's snowing up in Leeds.
Yeah.
How's the weather with you there, Conor?
It's cold. We got a cold flurry, and it's getting even colder tonight. But -2 to -4 last night, and we had a heap of snow. So I woke up this morning I live on a hill. Do you remember my hill, Nick? I live on a very steep, smooth hill, and so it's quite comical to watch because you can sit there with your coffee in the morning and watch people trying to drive up and down the hill. My wife thinks I'm a sadist, but it gets you through the morning, during lockdown. So what about you? What sort of temperature is it there with you?
It's just kind of freezing, but not a bit misty. It's nothing terrible.
Does the south of England get much snow?
No. When I was a kid, I was raised in Oxfordshire. We're filling for time, by the way, guys, because we're waiting for Clarke because he's got lost in the snow somewhere. When I was a kid, we used to have drifts that were like 7 foot high.
No way. Cool.
Centre of England.
Okay.
Terrible.
Yeah.
So this is nothing, anything below 3 foot is just a flurry as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. You've got your gritters and stuff over there. We don't have not a lot of things keep the snow off the road over here except cars, So if there's a flurry of snow, I've got a kid in the way and you're kind of looking at the window and you're kind of going, ooh, I could do with a better set of wheels. But anyway, it's gone in 2 days, so it'll be fine. No drama.
Wow. When are you due?
Wednesday.
Okay, mate. Big.
Yeah, no problem. Day after my dad's 80th birthday, had he been still with us, so he might arrive. She might arrive on the day, So that'll be interesting. So what are we doing tonight, Nick? We're going to do.
Well, you've written a book. Tell us for 1 second. Tell us about the book.
So I'm thinking that maybe we will leak out little bits of the book as time goes on. This book of written feeding dogs. Each chapter is a different topic that we could talk about, and we'd really benefit from having your opinion and Brendan, 2 of the top vets in UK. It'd be really interesting to put it to you guys and we can discuss it. So I was thinking that maybe there's 24 chapters in it. If we took a chapter a day or a chapter, whatever you call this, alive.
Each chapter,
I read a couple of pages to tee us up and we take it from there and have a little discussion after it. So there's 4 different sections in the book, and the first section, which we're going to start with now, really is all about what dogs eat when you analyze them. What is their actual diet, and when they're left alone to their own devices, and how do we measure that and that kind of stuff. Okay. So today we're just going to start with the introduction, because my introduction is actually 20 pages long, which won't surprise anyone for the amount that I talk. So a couple of pages of the introduction, maybe, when I'm not sure when Brendan's going to come, but should we wait for him, or do you think we should just?
I think we'll give him 5 minutes, because people are just coming along. I think that maybe they think this is the last show on earth or something, because people are coming in. And Martin is hilarious. Look at that. Have you seen?
That's good to hear.
Guys, what I think this is just very free and easy. Usually, if we're doing Jaw, I go, right, now we're going to have some questions and all that kind of thing. But this is really, really easy. It's not my show. It's not Conor's show. It's not Brendan's show. We're just gonna talk about stuff we love. And so, as Conor says,
1 second, Nick, I'll be back. Okay, I just have a visitor.
I'll have a chat. Okay,
I'm back. It's okay. She's gone.
So Conor's going to read a bit out of the book. It's almost like a Bible reading, if you like, except we're reading from the Bible according to Conor Brady.
Oh, not Jesus. Yeah.
So he's going to read a bit, and then that was going to spark some conversation, and we're just going to kick off. We're just going to kick off with some thoughts, because this is so important. I cannot tell you, and it's not just because Brady's here. This is a really important book because somebody has taken the time. They've taken a decade, i.e., the good doctor here has taken a decade to do the research that you and I would love to do if we had the time. He's done it for us. Thank you very much, Dr. Brady. And I'm just going to wallow in the fact that I didn't have to give up a decade of my life to produce this book. And we're going to say thank you very, very much to him for doing it. And we're just going to wallow in
facts.
Ideas. Is that that sound all right to you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I really hope. Do you know who I really hope that some of the vets pick it up. I really hope that some of our young up and coming vets pick it up. That would be my dream, and so I do want to bring them along. It's really the topic of tonight. That's really what the whole introduction is about. It's just like, where did the book come from? It came from, realizing a couple of things when I was over in Australia, and the fact that I wasn't believed, and it was just that stone wall that kind of says, right, I need to get the facts down here. And I didn't see another book that had the actual kind of argument laid out the way I would want to see it. And so I started, and then I never stopped. It was just a obsession after that. So that was kind of the whole point of tonight, Nick. It was kind of just to talk and lay it out from a layman's point of view, how not difficult, but what's the feeling? It's hard to describe the feeling when you're talking to someone and they just don't believe you, and you say, "Well, look, there's the evidence. It's there in front of you." You're borderline calling me, not a liar, but just stupid. The person gets very aggravated. The vet gets aggravated because they're not on the same page, and then what happens? You get a butt of heads, and what's the use of that? Nobody benefits from that. So, and
it's not unscientific, isn't it? It's like,
yeah. Yes,
we're trained to look objectively, i.e. from the outside, at the facts and say, do they stack up? And then we'll test them. And if when you test them and test them and test them, everything stacks up, then that is the new paradigm that you move forward from. So what you're describing is potentially scientists, veterinary specialists who are denying the science, potentially, okay, and also the industry and nutritionists and manufacturers and kibble producers, and everybody is potentially denying what is there in front of their eyes. That's why it's so important that we have this conversation. So do you want to
I can fire off. If you like, I could do, while we're waiting for Ben, I can do 4 pages instead of 2, Nick. That'll be 10 minutes instead of 5. Okay. Or will I just do 5? I'm happy enough with 5 minutes.
Well, just give us a flavour. And I'm just going to say to everybody, I love the way Conor writes, because you can tell he's kind of, one half of his brain is very scientific and very analytical, and the other half of his brain, he's got his tongue in his cheek and he's going, and you can see the smile on his face for, why don't they get this? They're idiots. It's got a human face. Every paragraph that I read has a human face and a scientific face to it, and that's a really nice combination. I'd really love people to get the gist of that. So the questions that you need to answer. Somebody's asking about a Kindle version, but you can come back to that. So I would say I'm gonna just disappear into the corner here. Let's see if we go like that. There you go.
I feel like I should be in like an armchair in front of a fire. That was my picture for my Facebook thing. But
next week, let's do that.
Let's just do 2 pages, okay? 5 minutes, because I feel like a bit of a dick. Okay. So previous to this, I'd had a couple of dogs that I.
Oops, we've lost him, guys. Jason Allen, I hope that wasn't your fault. Literally, we've lost him. He's disappeared. He's probably talking to his computer there, thinking, oh, this is going well. I haven't had any negative input. And actually, we've lost him. So listen, bear with it. There's some great comments coming through here. Let's just do that just to entertain ourselves while we're waiting. Here he is. Right. He's coming. 3, 2, 1. Boom. There he is. Right. I'm going to go. Okay. Everybody's saying how great this book is. I'm really getting sick of this. Really, God. Right. Wait till I write mine. Give me a decade or 2 and I'll write one. Okay. Go on then.
Okay. Here we go. So just at the start of the book, I was saying when I arrived in Australia, there was an awful lot of like allergy dogs in inverted commas. I don't even like the use of that word, but that's what they call them, allergy dogs. And 7 of the 18 dogs I was seeing privately were on steroid and non-steroid anti-inflammatories and stuff. So that vexed me. And at the same time, then I was diagnosed as a gluten intolerant, and all the woes that come with that when I was over in Australia. So I'm just continuing from that point, getting to my eureka moment that made me write the book. Here we go. I was 30 before I was diagnosed as gluten intolerant. This was something that was unheard of back when I was growing up. If something like food intolerance had been mentioned, you would be frowned upon in that typically Irish way we have of dealing with unusual happenings. Like people wearing sunglasses, it was something to be suspicious of and derided, maybe prayed over, but certainly not investigated. Everyone had simply ignored my stuffed nose over the years. I was the snotty kid with the tissue attached to his hand, as my father and likely his father or mother before him. You'd often hear my mother saying, "We didn't have allergies when we were growing up. You just got a slap in the head and were told to eat your lunch." She said this as she plonked her delicious, warm, gluten-tastic scones down in front of me. In fairness, this was something she said for most issues identified in the last 50 years, but I'm only just coming to realize how much truth there is to that statement now. Back then, food sensitivity and a whole host of other health issues, including asthma, diabetes, and childhood cancer, were significantly rarer in the general population. We now know they are less prevalent, allowing for increased awareness and diagnosis in the present day. This alone is fascinating. Why are all these chronic conditions rising year on year? So, Mum, I'm not soft or weird. I'm a grown man with sensitivities, which result in me getting the sniffles. Okay, at this point, you are possibly thinking, where's this guy going with all this? A perfectly reasonable question, considering you've just forked out some hard-earned cash on another of what is a growing line of canine nutrition books. And so far, all you've heard about is my holidays, sleeping habits, and at times, fraught relationships with my wife and mother. Here it is, the eureka moment, if you haven't already come to it yourself. After banging my head against the veterinary wall for a few months and getting no closer to a solution for all the sickness I was seeing in the Australian dogs around me, I had the beginnings of an idea. If 30% of Europeans are still unable to deal with gluten effectively, and we are pretty good at breaking down plant matter, how well do carnivorous dogs fare? After all, these days, gluten-laden wheat is the mainstay of their diet, approximately 50-60% for many of them, in fact. Plus, all my sick dogs were eating it. How did dogs develop systems better able to cope with all the gluten than me? This seemed like an obvious enough question when you consider that the ability to digest plant matter, certainly wheat gluten, decreases as you move from herbivore to omnivore to carnivore. You will learn that dogs diverged from wolves around 30,000 years ago, give or take, depending on who you talk to. Wolves have been out-and-out carnivores for at least 5 million years, normally consuming a diet of almost all animal matter. So if it takes a lot of time and many thousands of generations to develop a system that can cope with a new food group, how on earth are today's dogs coping with the transition to incorporating a wheat gluten diet in only 5 decades? The answer is, we don't really know. This is understandable to a point, because gluten intolerance is still a very new issue in humans, really only a few decades old. But I'd like to know things. Equipped with my research background and my access to pups, I started reading everything produced by the leaders in the field at the time. Both Australian vets, two leading Australian vets lived in Australia. Ian Billenhurst, author of Give a Dog a Bone, and Tom Lonsdale, Raw Meaty Bones. Now partly versed, I began conducting a few tests. First, I changed 3 of my absolute worst, most steroid-dependent dogs to an all-natural, cereal-free, raw meat and bone diet. The trial dogs were 1 Golden Labrador, 1 Cocker Spaniel, and 1 absolute nutter of a Labradoodle. They were from different breeders, but all suffered the same recurring skin rash, with 2 also suffering continuous stomach upset. In the 5 months before changeover, these 3 dogs had racked up costly 19 veterinary visits specifically for their ailments. There were multiple diagnoses, multiple causes, multiple uses of medicine. I alerted the overseeing vets to what I was doing and said I'd come back with the results one way or the other. Within days, I knew it was working. The dogs instantly stopped itching. Their skin cooled. Their poos were suddenly nice and firm and didn't stink. They drank less and urinated less. 2 weeks into the change, their hair had started to grow back on the bald spots. Very soon, the dogs were off their steroids, apparently allergy-free. 4 weeks later, they looked incredible. Softer coats, better muscle tone, in my opinion, and new focus, now back in training. 4 months after the change, and all the dogs were positively thriving. 1 pup returned to the vet for skincare follow-up, and then nothing. Without using a single drug, their issues had simply evaporated, which the best vets in Perth couldn't do themselves. The results of this simple test were pretty astounding to me, these being the worst cases I could get my hands on, and my head started racing. Was this just a removal of wheat, or is there perhaps a whole lot more going on here that I didn't know about? For a researcher, this is like hitting a thick vein of gold. How far does this go? It was only the lack of veterinary interest that had taken me to the position I'm in today. Interest is perhaps the wrong word, but they certainly didn't join me in the jitterbug doing my jitterbug in the corridor. This, for me, as someone who has been naturally inquisitive, something that has been honed and greatly accentuated by 8 years in college studying science, was completely unacceptable. You, sir, are a trained scientist. Here I am presenting the results of a little trial that had gotten your worst cases off recurring drug use and into full recovery, and you don't bat an eyelid. No follow-up investigation of your own, no questions. You simply refuse to believe me. It's fair to say I was very put out by this. Within 3 months of my little Australian food trial, I'd quit my dream job with guide dogs and reluctantly but determinedly re-entered the research world full-time, ending up 10 years later with the book you're about to read. There we go. 2 pages. What do you think?
I think that gives a good, a kind of a, I mean, and that's just the introduction. So it's kind of, it's kind of background. You're not getting into the hard science there.
No.
But so what's your take on what is making vets resistant to the message?
I don't know. Like on stuff that's missing from that introduction, like one key thing was that I was working with guide dogs at the time in Australia, and a guide dog group in Australia had just changed dogs, dry-fed 180 dry-fed dogs to raw food. And the results were astounding.
Okay, take us through this, because I know this study because we've discussed it quite a lot.
Yeah.
So just take us through from the beginning, middle, and end.
This bit about Brisbane guide dogs is a bit of a revelation, and it makes up the introduction to the chapter on what is the evidence for raw dog food, chapter 14. It's how I finish the end of section 2. So that I start with this Brisbane guide dog story and kind of say, like, astounding results, 180 dogs from dry to raw, and just explosive results on veterinary savings. Okay, I don't want to get into too much more detail than that because the results are so astounding. I want to read them out verbatim when we get there in 20 weeks or 14 weeks, whatever. So it was the fact that I'd presented them the science, and we had Brisbane guide dogs showing, yeah, guys, it's incredible, it's amazing, give it a go. And still my superiors at the time, who were being led by their vets, said, yeah, no. And I was kind of saying, yeah, but look at the dogs. I just got off the meds. This was a simple trial, knowing nothing else but to get them off dry onto raw. I was just after reading out a couple of pages there, Brendan, on a simple test that I did from the introduction. When I hit Australia, I met a lot of dogs with allergies, and I changed them from dry to raw. I alerted the vets and said, give us your 3 worst dogs, firmly confident that I was going to do it. And got the 3 dogs onto raw, and lo and behold, dogs that were, accumulating huge amounts of vet visits just stopped for 4 months. And when I went back to the vets and said, look, guys, all I did was just stop feeding dry and now feed raw. They were really highly regarded vets on the west coast of Australia, and they just kind of didn't bat an eyelid. And I was kind of the crazy guy dancing on the stage as opposed to a guy being believed. And we're wondering, like, what is the block that people that when you're presenting this information, well, let's face it, particularly the vets, what's the block that stopped them believing this information that presented it?
What's your take on that, Brendan? So basically, vets find it difficult to make the leap, and we're just wondering why that might be. I'll give you my penneth in a second, but what's your take on that?
Yeah, sorry for my coffee accident, but I'm now with you. So the issues, I think, they profess to be really down the science line, but I think human nature is such that you go by very much, if somebody looks up at a building, you see everybody else start to look up at the building. It's social proof, and they like to be part of a larger group. And I think what you're tending to see now, and I see this with new graduates coming through, with colleagues that I speak to on the conventional, they are comfortable in a zone where they feel lots of other people are doing the same. They don't care really whether there's any science in front of them in many cases, but if it's something that's outside of their comfort zone, they'll suddenly point saying, I want to see the science. But if it's even if they see that science,
Yeah.
still prefer to do something that maybe has been proven not to be scientific. Let's harp on about antacids in dogs and cats for a moment. And they will still blindly give those medications because they feel comfortable giving it because of social proof. You know, everybody else is doing it, so why shouldn't I?
Yeah.
Totally. And I just want to say,
in the food feeding environment too. Sorry, Nick.
Yeah, we're not having a go at the vets. We're just trying to understand what is the psychology that means that we can't, in an open and constructive format, try and share some of the amazing results that we are seeing with safe and responsible raw food. Why is it that we're not able to have that conversation? So I just want to say, if the Royal College is watching this, we are not having a go at the profession. We would like to engage with the profession, and if they look at the facts, read the book, and that if they say it's not for me, I'm quite happy for them to go back to the kibble. But I would just like to engage with them in order to share something that we have found to be totally revolutionary within nutrition. Yeah, and that's it. That's really it. So you think it's kind of group think mentality?
I think it's social proof. Yeah, the psychology of it. I think, you know, I used an example there, but I think the psychology is that just that comfort that, you know, it's a stressful job at the best of times. You know, the thinking of putting your head above the parapet and suddenly saying something that's different from others often, you know, is something that's uncomfortable for them. And that's possibly why these vets that you were speaking to in Australia those years ago suddenly just went, do you know what? But we've always done this. And I don't really want something that's going to interrupt with what we've always done.
Yeah, I see a couple of. I'm looking at the comments here. I said on my page that please come along and put your comments in. And the two really, really on the button comments from the way I would think about it is that, you know, there is a strong toe from the lessons you learn in school. I mean, those lessons are hard to shift, and you are fed that stuff young, and it carries. And then you go to a couple of seminars and everybody else is doing it, which kicks in then, Brendan, absolutely. There's that for sure. And there's a key term there from Zoe Carter, cognitive dissonance. It's like you can't think about it. It's like I can't actually be this wrong on dry food. Like I couldn't possibly be this wrong, could I? Because that would mean, you know, I haven't.
Oh, the alarms, yeah.
You know, the implications for the ego that you are that wrong on something as important as nutrition is kind of like, I couldn't have possibly fallen for that. I mean, we were all there. We all had the dog. Well, I'm not sure about you guys. Actually, I never asked about you. But as a lay person, I certainly had the dog, my most adored dog, Meg. And that dog there, unreal. She's a shepherd cross rough collie. And she was 7 years old, and I realized everything I was doing was wrong. I was giving her dry food. She was as stiff as a board, and I neutered her too early, and flea chemicals, wormers, all that crap. I stopped it all, put in the raw, and overnight she was back running up the cliffs and doing the long walks. And so we all have that dog where you kind of go, God, I was actually completely wrong on those things. But I'm not a vet. I can only imagine how much harder that would be if you've just been charging for your advice and then suddenly go, oh my God, this is not good. That's what I think.
Yeah. It's a massive climb down, isn't it? You've been charging down this road for, 10, 20 years, however long you've been qualified. And then suddenly you think, oh my God, one of the foundations, food, medicine, surgery, these are foundations of veterinary medicine. And if crumbs, I've been interested in nutrition and kibble nutrition, but actually I've been barking up the wrong tree. It takes quite a big person to climb down off that particular hobby horse, I feel. And that's really, really difficult to do.
So what do you do? What do all these people here in the comments section, how do they bring their vets along? How do I bring my vet along? I barely have that relationship with my vet. What is the way around that little wall?
Okay. Anybody ideas there? Yeah. Let's throw the floor open.
The thing I find, just while people are making comments and you bring those up, I think is really, firstly, build a relationship with that vet. You know, if you've got a relationship with them, it's knowing that they can see the improvement or the health of your pet that's in front of them. And you're chatting to them and you're taking on board what information they're giving you. But actually don't just sort of like act like a sap and just say that's, you know, I'll do whatever you say, but have a conversation. And if they ask about diet, just say, yeah, I feed raw. I've been feeding it for however long, you know, because it immediately blunts the you'll kill your dog if you feed raw.
Yeah.
If you say that, well, I've been feeding it for 5, 10, 15 years, depending on, you know, how long you've been feeding raw. And, you know, they can't really get past the, well, you'll kill it tomorrow if you continue to do this when you've been doing it for so long. So I think that would be one thing that I find a lot of my clients will talk to their primary vets about and find useful to build that relationship. I love them to continue a relationship, you know, with their primary vet. That's really important because they've been with them for many years.
Totally.
And you know, it's far better for those vets to see the benefits that their feeding raw is giving than them just kicking the toys out of the pram and going, I'm going somewhere else.
And losing the clients. You know, there's a veterinary group there that has, you know, 20 raw vets working for them, Wiley vets, and you know, by all accounts, they are just sucking in clients from a large radius. I would hate to be a conventional vet that's not on that side, that's living within 5 miles, kind of going, you know, it becomes more difficult to kind of. Well, I wonder, would like pet food reports, does the slumping of dry food sales increase? Like, does that, you know, prick your ears more than what your client has just said to you? When you see that you're on the losing side of an argument that's plummeting and raw's exploding, you're in a smaller and smaller pool. Does that not alarm you as a business person?
For me, you know, I would definitely say that, look, there is a balance to be had about nutritional advice, and you know, we do sell raw food through the practice as much as we do any other veterinary advice and product that you would expect in any normal vets. And I would just say, you know, that those guys just need to understand it's, you know, often there's so much help that people want and advice and, you know, help just nurturing through, you know, concerns that actually what you'll lose in dry food feeding, you know, is easily outweighed by the community you can generate and the advice that you can give to those clients. So I don't think from a business point of view, I don't think, and I can't believe that actually for the majority of vets, that's what they're worried about. I think I think it's more that human psychology of, I just want to do what all of my other colleagues in the practice are doing. You know, and I don't really want to reach outside of the box. So for my vets, it's very easy for them to stretch into raw food feeding advice because, you know, we've been doing it as a practice, you know, 20, 30 years nearly as a practice. You know, fortunately, some of my predecessors were really into raw food feeding as well. So that was great for us to be able to build that into, and all of our new vets sort of like, they find it difficult sometimes to break from what they've been taught at university, but very quickly when they see my own dogs and many of our clients' dogs being fed on raw and the benefits that they've got, you know, across the board on their health, you know, it just makes it so much easier for them to broach into that.
Yeah, I see the lady there saying it's very frustrating when people are afraid to talk to their vets, and you go, yeah, like, I mean, guys, that's definitely got to be the wrong thing. It's that you're paying this person for their opinion. You need to be upfront with everything that's going on in case you identify something. I mean, you know, and actually, here's one more thing was that, what about supplying material to these vets and saying, like, will you read the RFVS position statement or Nick's course, the short course? Look, just sit down for 10 minutes and watch Nick's course. It's like, you can do it on the bus. Well, you're not getting the bus. You can do it, you know what I mean, 10 minutes, 15 minutes and watch it giving a lesson. And it's like, what's stopping you looking at the other side and just seeing, is there any truth to this?
What about, okay, so my thoughts looking at all of this would be, one is, Conor, if you wouldn't mind just doing a 10-page précis a little booklet that people can give to their vets, that would be really,
idea. Yeah.
I kid you not. I think we should have a copy of this in every.
Our author, I think we've got the person to do it.
Yourself and Brendan have already done that. You've got the RFVS position statement. What did the RCVS think of that? The Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons. What did they think of your position statement you spent so much time putting together?
They haven't even looked at it, as far as I know. Brendan, have they looked at it? No, we need to put it under their nose. Okay, so that.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
I get the link sent to all of the primary vets that will advise clients that they're in danger of causing problems for their pets if they continue to do that. And I just say, look, you need to read this because you're obviously a little out of touch with that side of things. But that's literally putting it under their nose electronically. I just don't know. I think it's something that maybe needs reauthoring into an easy way for people to get that across into.
I think a lot of people are thinking the way to get it into them is our universities. Multiple people have said this, but here's Susie Ball, just because we're mentioned in this, so it sounds better. Can't you three go and speak to new vets while they're learning?
We love to.
Let me have them.
So good, wouldn't it? Just to have a whole afternoon, just like Hills. We had Hills talking to us. That was a long time ago, before Royal Canin really got their teeth into things. And respect to Hills for what they do. I disagree with them completely, but and Royal Canin and Purina. So why don't we? We should
not let in
to get.
That's the problem. We can only get to the clinical clubs, which are student-led, if at all, because many of the lecturers, funded by well-known companies, are limited, and if anything, still doing what we've said before of being very much, no, actually that's outside of our comfort zone, and therefore we're not going to allow it. And we certainly will advise students to continue to do what we do rather than do something else.
There's a chapter there on why on the current level of veterinary nutritional education in the vet kind of curriculum. So that's one of the chapters. But in that are a lot of freedom of information requests where you see the contracts that these corporations have with the universities, and they are drum tight. Like, we are going to lecture your kids this much. They have to they get this free food. We will be the only people supplying this and that. I don't want to name those companies because it's easier if you read it and have the reference at the end of it. But the contracts are staggering in Edinburgh, Liverpool. Really.
Hang on, just say that again. You have done freedom of information request.
I have them. It wasn't me. The UK RMB, UK Raw Meaty Bone Group did 2 or 3. Tom Lonsdale did a few over in Australia. I've got one from Lithuania, a couple from the States, one from Canada. It's all the same contract, but some of them are ruthless and very good value. €35,000 a year gets you access to and I think, my God, I think it was 125,000 for 4 years, access, teaching, after hours. What do we call them when you're not lectures, but so just phenomenal access, and any business person would look at that and go, that is great money. I mean, why would you put an ad in the Telegraph when you could just for 40,000 get in at the university students, and they all come out going, yes, this is the food we feed. How do we get in there, guys? How do you get into how do you get into a veterinary university and say, guy, you're a university, you're publicly funded, you're surely obliged to put out a balanced message?
You'd have thought so. Well, I lecture at Glasgow University every year, have done for about the last 6 years. So I get half an hour to talk to the second years, and I'm presenting with the PFMA and GA food producers, Golden Acres, who used to be a food producer. This is how we make food. And also Hills they take half an hour as well. So there is a degree of balance there, and I want to do a shout out to Philippa Yam, who is the senior lecturer there, who allows that to happen. I think that's fantastic.
That's cool.
Why aren't the rest of the vet colleges allowing that? It's freedom of information. It's a balance so that the students can make a decision themselves. So I think more of that would be a really good idea. Oh, there he goes. There he goes. Okay.
Look, some of those comments. Let's just pick through those whilst.
Let's have a look at those. Okay. Does he put a summary at the end of each chapter? I can't remember seeing that in the chapters that I read, Brendan.
Yeah, we've got the electronic version. I'm not sure whether he's changed it since then.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'll just get rid of that for now then, because what we could do is just take the summaries and say, listen, all this is referenced. Put all the summaries together, send that to every vet student. How about that? We get the Raw Feeding Veterinary Society to fund. It'll cost, I don't know, what would it cost? I don't know, $4,000 or something to send to every single vet student. Wouldn't take too much.
Yeah, get them interested, certainly. I mean, look, this whole thing, I saw a quick comment there. There was something about that when they were doing their masters there, they were told that domestication has massively changed the dog's ability. Isn't that just hilarious? Considering how long evolution truly takes, and we're talking about within the last, I think Spratz was 150 years ago, was it?
The first 60, I think, wasn't he?
Yeah, the first sort of let's use some waste cereal material to create a additional biscuit just to get rid of it. Oh, he's back! Marvelous.
Hi.
Yeah. So here's the thought. Here's the thought, Brent. Connor is. Yeah. We're thinking, why don't we get something to, whether it's the position paper or the summaries? If you do summaries for your book at the end of each chapter, do you do summary at the end of each chapter?
I do summaries. I do take home points.
Okay. So if we put all those together with your permission, obviously, and we sent the position paper and we sent that to every single vet student. How many vet students are there in the country? About
250 per college at the moment. Because don't forget,
per college. 8 colleges.
8 colleges you have.
Okay, so 2,000 students. So there you go. That is not insurmountable.
I think there might be a GDPR issue with going and getting those email addresses. I mean, how do we accumulate those? I want those email addresses.
Yeah, and you know that what's happening. Yeah, we send a pile of leaflets to each college, and somebody's warming their hands over a brassiere fur.
Well, we would have to have somebody who a trusted person to say, talk to so and so if you want a copy of this. And send them 100 copies for the 250, perhaps. Realistically speaking, I think that's doable.
Yeah, I saw an interesting thing with Sydney there, Sydney University. ABC News is great over in Australia because they seem to be really anti-kibble, but they do a lot of exposés and they really have the bit between their teeth. But anyway, they went on to Sydney University and they said that somebody pitched it to the ethics officer of the university, somebody that was in the law department, and said, guys, do you think it's ethical that one company sponsoring the vet, like if you want to find out who sponsors your veterinary department, ring them up and ask them what food they sell. And that's as simple as that, because whatever food you sell is the food you're being sponsored by. It's a really simple way of doing it. And now you've got the name of the company, and you just go and talk to the ethics committee or the law society and say, right, guys, is it fair that we are being isolated from the message here? Is that a fair thing to do? And like, is it circumventing the wall? Is like this cash incentive or cash sponsorship of veterinary departments isn't going to stop anytime soon. It's a hugely expensive department. I mean, bloody hell, the amount of stuff that you need regularly, it needs cash, and it's more cash than the government are going to be providing to each department. So each department is obliged, or it's perfectly in their right to raise cash, and this is one way they do it. But it's a pity they wouldn't take money off both sides. I'm not sure if there's any raw producer that I'm sure some raw producers would love to give a bit of cash to the universities.
I guess that's where you've got to look at that contract to see whether there's exclusions.
Yeah, well, maybe that's right.
You don't.
Is it money once that contract finishes? Is it a matter of getting onto the head person? Like we said, all vets are on the same team here. Is it a matter of getting onto some of the vets, the higher up vets in that department? Going, look, guys, if it's about money, we'll get you a portion of the cash that you're going to be getting from that company. So instead of taking $100,000 a year from them, because it actually adds up to quite a lot, they actually use they pay the wages of one intern, not an intern, but what do they call
lecturer.
Yeah, so there's one wage is being paid. There's lots of different ways to get the cash in there. Like they don't come into the car park honking the horn. There's lots of different ways to. But if we said, look, if you're getting 200 grand a year from X dry food company, and you needed, could we have quarter of the time for 50 grand a year? Would that not make sense? Then you mightn't get the contract with the dry food company if we're in there at all, which we know happens. I mean, I know people have dropped out of seminars if they thought I was going to be speaking, which is.
Yeah, they throw their toys out of the pram very, very easily. It's like, right, that's it, because they know that there's a dependence within because money is short, especially now. So we'd have to play that quite delicately, but just sending. I'd thought just sending 100 envelopes with
50 quid.
Pick them up. Say again.
An envelope with 50 quid.
Student would love it. Queuing up for the leaflet.
Or a slice of pizza in it.
That's probably cheaper. Yeah.
Delivered by drones as they come out of college. Yeah.
So no, I was thinking there. I think, what about out of the box? Just thinking more the zoological societies and stuff. We talk all of the time about how it's biologically appropriate feeding. That we should be thinking about. How we feed zoo animals, how we try and nurture a natural environment and that side of things. Should we really be thinking that actually we just get into those areas rather than, because we're taught in husbandry, I mean, that's really where the majority of our nutrition is taught in the earlier years. But it's, okay, a lot of it is about cattle-based and farm-based medicine and nutrition. But that's really where it's sort of like promoted about nutrition. Is that not the sort of area that we should be getting in before the clinicians even get their hands into the students?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that's why I speak to the second years. Yeah, because you're doing so you do biochemistry, physiology, and anatomy in first year, and then in second year you're doing animal management and what?
Well, various ones are doing. Yeah, the difficulties are it's changing all the time now. But we were certainly doing animal management. Husbandry was in from the beginning, just so that you do the lambing and you be able to earn some money through the holidays. But the other things are, I believe there's certain places, certainly like Nottingham and Liverpool, are really now trying to promote almost a apprenticeship type approach of really getting the vet students into clinics straight away.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like probably a slightly different battle now.
Two great ideas there. Rachel Mack says student unions. They're a hungry bunch, and if you give them something that's not fair, and you kind of say, look guys, this is the truth of it, if you could get 2 or 3 of the higher ups in the student union and do a 2 or 3 hour presentation with them, and they saw the light, they could see that as something that they might get behind. You mightn't have to do anything. You might just say, this is just grossly unfair, guys, and find one that has a pet that isn't well, and it's pretty good. The other one here, great idea from Sarah Robinson, which kind of circumvents the GDPR issue, which that's all. This is going out live. Okay. GDPR stuff. People have their universities and courses on their profiles. So you could probably use Facebook targeting and get young vets very, very easily. Facebook targeting is the best sort of targeting. It's totally legal. And crowdfunding, as multiple people have said, is definitely the way to go. Public, I have this idea in a few years, but definitely can be spoken about now. But like, people are talked to like they're stupid, like they're outside of science. Let the scientists talk about the science, and you just wait and digest the stuff that we give you. And it's so nonsensical. Crowdfunding is surely a way to get things done. And if you told people we need X amount of money to use drones to drop in 50 quid in an envelope to vet students or whatever we decide to do with them, you would get the money for that. It's just
and that's the £4 for 4 paws. There's crowdfunding going on.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
So if anybody watching this has kind of specialties, I don't even know what that specialty would be. What would it be? Kind of communications technology or
Yeah.
Very good at stuffing envelopes or whatever.
Yeah.
If anyone has a speciality with this, please get in touch.
You will find somebody that's a Facebook fiend. I've seen a couple of people. I've seen certainly one incredible person who knows how to use Facebook advertising to make a huge sums of money for companies each year, and it's so specialized. You can just drop it on people's house numbers, nearly, the ad, and anybody outside this house number need not read this ad, and you are going to get that ad in your face in the first week. So young vets would be easy enough to find if we had the right message. I still don't think a young vet is going to see a message and kind of go, oh, interesting, fresh food for dogs, or but then again, it's about what that quick message. There's such a skill to doing it online. Look how well Rodney Habib does it. Like, there's a reason that guy has millions of followers, because his messages to us would look very, very simple. You go, bloody hell, that is so simplistic. He's melting a Barbie. I mean, geez, anyone can melt a Barbie. I've written 5,000 words on something similar, but nobody reads mine, and everybody looks at his. That's the hook, though, isn't it? That you have that skill, you have the right person in the right place to do it. We don't. It seems like we don't have that spearhead really for the cause, do we?
I think certainly Nick was saying, we did one of these a week or so ago, and I think just so much now has changed, hasn't it? From the written word, which we were all brought up on as that's the gospel and that's how you should get things across. So actually, it is. We are trying desperately with this today, to move with the times and be more audio-visual. And, Nick was quite right, why is he going to write a book when he'd prefer to leave his, his imprint on, videos and courses and that side of things, aren't you, Nick? I mean, he is our spearhead. There you go.
Yeah, I'm happy to be... to kind of organize these things, but what I think maybe now is a good time to talk about the RPM, Raw Pet Medics. Great, guys. So we've had an idea. Tell us if it's a silly idea, but we're thinking of we're going to have a forum, the three of us, where we just sit and talk about ideas as we're doing now, which is actually very, very pleasant and very comfortable to do. And we're going to call it RPM, Raw Pet Medics, and maybe this is something that we can develop this idea, because we don't need to make decisions right now. Okay, let's throw the idea out there. It sounds like Sarah Robinson is a very useful person, but I think maybe let's just masticate be careful how you say that, the idea for a month maybe, and just ruminate on that and just see what comes out. If guys, you can be thinking about it and feedback when we're online. Basically, it's a time thing. Very few of us have a lot of time to develop another project, but we would love to educate further. If we just need, if we can share the jobs out between the three of us are donating our time here because we love what we're doing and we love to share the knowledge and learn from everybody, and I think we just need to take it further. But so we don't need to do anything right now.
Just planting seeds.
Planting seeds.
Well, you've got an admirer. I can see, Conor. You're the Irish Rodney Habib. Linda Cafferty says.
Excellent.
I think that should be posted up there.
I'm a Rodney Habib. I don't. I mean, maybe his little toe at the moment. It will be lovely. But Habib's a legend, though. He's a nice guy. He's nice with it. He's so helpful. So fair play to him. He's done. I like his start-off story where he said he damaged his knee, which I can relate to. And he said he just woke up and he just looked at the junk his dog was being fed. He just posted a picture about it. And he went to bed. He thought no more about it. He had a couple of friends that were kind of semi-professional ballers. And he wakes up in the morning, he had 500,000 shares on the post. Ellen picked it up and shared it. And he woke up, I'm sure I'm butchering the story, but he woke up to people from Australia and Britain ringing him saying, will you come over here and do a seminar? And he goes, what? He's there with his leg in plaster, didn't know anything about dogs. And he goes, I don't know what's happening. And then he realized, bloody hell, this has gone viral. It was just a picture of some really dirt kibble saying, how is this good for a dog? Because he knew his nutrition, he was interested, and he's doing a lot of sport. Yeah. And then overnight sensation. So he hit the ground running, and so that's in his Wikipedia profile. So I thought that was very, it's just the sign of the times. You just hit the right note. Anyway, that's where we are. Look, guys, we have what the Raw Pet Medics are going to be doing is that every kind of week we're going to take a couple of pages from well, this book, let's face it, because this I'm more than happy to do, and we're going to use that as a tee up of what to talk about. And the contents page of my book, Feeding Dogs, is up on Amazon, so you can check it out, see which kind of weeks are going to particularly interest you. But the first section, the 4 sections of the book, the first section is what do dogs eat? Okay, so what do they eat when they're left to their own devices? We can look at the diet studies, ancestry, gut biology. So next week we're going to read out a couple of pages about just simply the word carnivore and omnivore and how ridiculous that is to describe an animal and think that you're going to be able to feed it. And then moving on to ancestry and just talking a little bit about where the dog came from, a little bit about wolves, a little bit about that kind of stuff. Where the dog came from was kind of interesting. Just maybe a little chat on that, guys. How do you like the sound of that, Nick?
I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
So everybody loves the idea of RPM, and it's easy to remember as well, which is amazing. Yeah. So how about we say let's not do anything, but let's just be thinking, meditating on what to do for the next 7 days. If you guys are good for 8 o'clock next Friday, let's kick off again, because this is lovely. This is a great way to spend a Friday.
Get ideas out of it.
Yeah, and just see what comes out, and we'll ask the guys what they think, and let's see what happens. Okay, so there's no commitment anywhere. Conor, you don't like being nailed down to
You'll be busy for the next month with the kid coming along, so
oh god, of course you will.
8 o'clock at night is a perfect time because Holly's in bed and it's all laying downstairs. So even if we have a baby around, it's not going to.
We're gonna be seeing him like this. He'll be baby in a few weeks' time whilst he's talking to us all.
I remember the day. Okay, so how about that? So we'll forgive you for the next few weeks if you're not able to. If you're on paternal duty,
no, I should be okay. Friday night 8 o'clock suits me perfectly. If you can, Nick, it's a bit late for you, or
no, it's good. It's good. Good. This is really, really important, and it's fun. I wouldn't be doing it.
I love it.
Yeah. So why don't we say no commitment to do anything, but if we can all be just thinking about any ideas, or if you know people who are in marketing or know Facebook backwards. Was it Rachel who was saying about
no, you have
marketing? Anyway, it's absolutely fantastic. People are stepping up to the plate already, so it's brilliant. How about? So we'll say next Friday at 8 o'clock. Caroline Griffith is just there saying, Conor live again 7 p.m. Tuesday. Did you do a
I will be doing. I'll be talking to Caroline on Tuesday. Which will at 7. Is it 7, Caroline? 7. Okay. Well, there you go.
Okay.
Naked Dog page, so you can check that out.
Okay, but we'll do RPM next Friday at 8, and we'll see what happens. It was Sarah Robinson. Sorry, Sarah. Sarah Robinson, who was the Facebook guru. So that's fabulous. Sarah, we're probably going to be using you. But if anybody else knows anybody who's got specialty, because a specialist will take 3 seconds to do what drongos would take 5 weeks to do. Yeah?
I love the idea of crowdfunding. I love the idea of having a project that we all come up with and start adding to it. And then you have that thing going, okay, now let's do it. And not be kind of, remember in Monty Python where there were the People's Front, the Judean People's Front. Yeah. So but all they ever did was have meetings and nothing got done. I want to get crowdfunding, and I want to constantly, even if they're just freedom of information requests, what do you want to know? And we just type up the freedom of information request and post it out, because they charge you I wanted to get some information out of Melbourne University when they released that study on APN and dogs. Chicken necks cause APN in dogs. And I was like, okay, guys, let's have it. So we went to Melbourne University and find out their sponsors, and then just got onto and sent them a freedom of information request. They just bounce it back straight away. It's $400 for us to even look for it. And it's like, it's a freedom of information request. Is that not free? And but for them to look for it, that's not uncommon. If they don't want to give you the info, you could be paying $400 and they can come back with the information that wasn't good. So even freedom of information requests are really effective. If you wanted to find out how a certain body that's been funded by somebody, by the government, works, freedom of information requests are brilliant. So even those are short, little punchy things. So if anybody has those sort of ideas that you need us to find out, that would be pretty good too. Anything, with with an end mission would be great. Okay, that sounds pretty good.
Okay, so relax. Nothing much to do just now, but just to be thinking about it. And if you can be networking with people who do know this kind of stuff, I think that would be amazing. We're totally up for it. I haven't got a lot of time, but totally up for it, and good to think about these things. So let's do 8 o'clock. Let's have another little slice of goodness from the book.
Yeah,
Conor, thank you. That's really fabulous. If you want to buy it, great. If you don't, you're an idiot. But that's up to you.
You can hear us talking about these anyway, so it's gonna,
Yeah, it's good.
Not the same. You need a tactile feel of a nice hardback now.
I think Kim Riley, who's very lovely, has an excellent idea there. She says crowdfunding and send a book to every vet in Britain. I think that's an excellent idea. 2,000
I've
books.
already purchased one of yours to send to the clinical board.
Oh, very good.
That's going to be interesting. I think what we need to do is you need to start targeting some of those clinical boards out there of the larger organisations.
Do you think if I post them a book, they're going to read it?
Yeah, well, it's science based. What I mean,
you never know.
It's useful if you're a vet within to send it and say this is a scientific book.
It would kill me if I thought they were just holding up and laughing at it and nothing ever got read. It would just kill me. That money.
Think about that. Just send. I've sent this big chunk of science to these people that constantly are saying they are abiding by the science.
Yeah, I already have those people in mind. Actually, I've already got a couple on my list. But anyway, okay, guys, that sounds pretty good.
Okay, and one of these days we'll get Rodney on because it's 8 o'clock here, which means it's like 3 in the afternoon for him. So we'll just twist his arm and see if we can't just get him into the goodness as well. Yeah. Okay. Loads of ideas, loads of great feeling. Fabulous to see. I've never seen such a turnover of communication with the things. It's great to see you guys. I'd rather be sitting with a pint with you, but there you go. It's one of those things.
Soon.
Let's call it a night. It's fantastic. I just can't believe how great this really. The feeling is perfect. And thank you, Conor. Brilliant. Brendan, fabulous. I'm going to go home and see my family. So
I am home. I'm going to roll downstairs and hopefully watch a movie. It would be nice, but that's the plan. What are you doing, Brendan?
Just grab a glass of wine and just chill out. Yeah, I'm at home, so that's useful for me at the moment.
Awesome. Very nice. How are the goats doing? Did more goats arrive?
No, the 2 that I'm going to collect. So I've only got 12 at the moment. So the 2 to collect maybe on Monday.
Right, it's getting boring. I'm going to go now.
We're talking goats.
Friday, 8 o'clock, RPM, Book Friday. Be there or